Who are you?
I'm Nikhil Prakash.
What are you doing here?
I'm here to talk about, I have no clue. I have no idea what I'm doing. Someone told me I should talk about my feelings on the internet. So here we are. Hey everyone, my name is Nikhil Prakash, and this is Talking About Feelings, the show where I talk about the insights I have learned in my personal development journey as I bumble through life, with the hopes that maybe even something gives you a modicum of value. This is my first episode on perfectionism and self-worth. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know. Here I am, talking about feelings. I'm feeling nervous right now, like putting this out. I don't put myself out there a lot on social media. I just actually released this acting piece a couple weeks ago that I've been working on for a long, long time and put a lot of work into it. It was the most difficult thing I've done. And after all this work for over a year, I just almost didn't release it. I actually was, why does anyone have to see this? You know, when the whole reason I made it is so that people see it, and it's somewhat of a calling card for me. And it took my roommate, who's a lot younger than me, we won't go into that, standing next to me with a ladle to say, listen, if you don't upload this in the next 2 minutes, I'm gonna hit you with this ladle. This is not an exaggeration, and when I started making excuses, he actually hit me with the ladle. And I'm an extrovert. I'm somebody who's supposed to love putting myself out there. But when it's something vulnerable to me that I feel really scared of criticism, it took a young guy with a ladle to make me do it. Even right now, there's thoughts in my head going on. Am I rambling? Does anyone care? Right? And I just want to say this because as somebody who is an extrovert who generally gives energy out and who's comfortable with that, if I feel nervous, I can't even imagine how some people who may be naturally introverted must feel. There's some part of me that is just so scared of criticism. There's so much of my self-worth and inner peace tied to a perceived outcome, right? It's a perceived outcome, right? Because I can call it success, but it really means that in my head, I'm defining success as if everybody says, this thing's amazing, and I did awesome, that means I'm successful, you know? And if that means I'm successful, that means maybe I'm worthy. And if I'm worthy, maybe I'm good enough. And for me, I know that's what it is. And it's this is not a new term, this inner traumatized child that maybe didn't get enough validation and love and encouragement growing up, and maybe was even criticized. I know I was criticized whenever I didn't meet certain expectations. That is still there, and I notice him. I grew up in a conservative Indian family. So when I came home, and I thought I did good, because all my teachers thought I did good, and when hey look, Dad, I got an A minus. Why is that minus there? That minus should never be there. When I was in India, we walked 4 miles in the hot bloody sun, and I was still a topper. I was like, what the hell's a topper? A topper. You know, what? A topper. I got 100%, 101% even I got. And I was like, is that possible? Don't argue math with me, okay? A lot of people love Kobe, a lot of people love Gary Vee, right? They're great, right? And when people see them, they're always like, wow, look at those guys. They work hard, they hustle, they grind, they pound, they this and that. And that's maybe true. But if you look at a couple of interviews where they give a hint into their upbringing, specifically with their self-esteem related to work.
The ROI of my mother is everything. My mother, the way she parented me, which, oh, by the way, is perfectly, is the reason I have the ability, the confidence, and the absolute wherewithal to execute the businesses that I'm building.
I had a summer where I played basketball when I was like 10 or 11 years old. And here I come playing and I don't score 1 point the entire summer.
Really?
0 points. And I remember crying about it and being upset about it. And my father just gave me a hug and said, listen, whether you score 0 or score 60, I'm gonna love you no matter what. Now that is the most important thing that you can say to a child. Because from there I was like, okay, that gives me all the confidence in the world to fail. I have the security there.
So all these other things that people see, like the actions, like the work or the practice, I see that as you're looking at the fruits of the tree and the branches of the tree, but you're not looking at the seed and the root of the tree and how it was watered. You know, you're just looking at the fruits of it because that's what's obvious. In my personal case, I love my dad. We have a good relationship now, but it was also, you know, he had a certain role to play in my life and me and his, where it was sometimes really difficult. I felt very limited or very controlled, and I often felt that no matter how much I do, how much I perform, you know, there would always be some aspect of, why is there a minus there? Meaning what? Meaning it's never going to be good enough. Not just it's not good enough, that I'm not good enough. He didn't do this consciously, but the way I took it growing up is no matter how much I try, no matter how much I work, I'm never going to be good enough. And that inbred a real fear of criticism and putting things out there. And in a lot of ways, for me, I've struggled with severe chronic procrastination and guilt most of my life because of that. And scared to make mistakes, scared to put myself out there. I've tried to force myself to do it. You know, okay, just freaking work. Okay, just do it. Just force you, just do it. And my whole life, I've just been working on trying to beat myself up a little bit less. And it's been hard, right? It took me a while to realize that when I'm beating myself up, when that voice is coming in saying, you're a piece of, you know what, if you don't work, or you should be working when, you know, I'm watching TV or whatever, and that you should be doing this, shooting on myself. That guilt and control and self-beat up is repeating the exact same pattern of what I learned in childhood, right? And that actually made me rebel in procrastination, right? So it's like there's a part of me that feels scared. Oh my God, I'm not good enough. What's the point of doing anything? Because no matter what I do, I'll never be good enough. So there's a belief I'm not good enough. Then there's that same part of me, part of the same traumatized child, that's going, no, you better do this, because that's the only technique it ever knew, you know, to do this, right? And then what happens? Then that child in turn rebels against itself, saying, well, no, now I'm free, F you, I don't want to do this, right? I don't want to do it, you can't tell me what to do, I should be enough as I am, which is true, you know? And then it becomes this perpetuating cycle where I used to never do anything, not get up off my butt to do anything, and feel really guilty about it and crappy. And therefore, I've created a situation where my ego is right about not being good enough. And it's a self-perpetuating cycle. And because I was trying to fix the doing without looking at the being. The being was the wrong way of being, misaligned way of being. Whereas in the examples of Kobe and Gary Vee, for example, they were raised with, at least with work, I don't know about anything else, I'm just talking in relation to work, in this particular example, it seemed to be, I don't know them, more aligned way of being that would allow them to feel freer and not afraid, because they're not basing their self-worth every time they take a shot or start a business or send an email, right? And so I just started working with like therapy and meditation on how do I give love to myself. My therapist told me once, Nikhil, a success is just success. Harvey Weinstein was also successful. But you have to realize you're a good man no matter what, success or not, money or not, you know? And she started having me deeply affirm, I'm a good man, I'm a good man, not I'm a good man when I book 10 roles, not I'm a good man when I get married and have $1 million in the bank account to take care of my daddy, love you dad. Not that, I'm a good man, period. I'm enough, period. I'm worthy, period. Even when I'm spitting towards the camera, like I just did, I'm still enough. And I think when I started to do that, when I started to soothe myself and love myself, it's okay, enough no matter what. You know what started happening? Things started coming out of me as action, but it was inspired action. It started to be little bits of what we call flow, or being in the zone, where it came out of me. And I didn't have to force myself, because I had learned, and I'm still unlearning this, it's still an everyday battle, that somehow, in order to get me to do anything, I can't trust myself that I'll do the right thing at the right time. So I have to hold an emotional and metaphorical gun to my head to try to control and guilt and manipulate myself into doing something. Because that's how I was raised, right? But believing that and being in that modality and trying to force myself to do anything, do you know what it resulted in? It resulted in me getting fired from multiple jobs. I got into one of the top film schools in the world and pretty much got kicked out of it because I rebelled against every rule, because there was this wounded child in me that I wasn't 100% aware of that was rebelling against any outside control, any outside rules, because don't tell me what to do or how to do it. I should know how to do just F you, I'm gonna do it my way. And even if the work was good, I would still sabotage myself, end up in a situation where I was fired, broke, out of school, whatever, and there it is. My ego's right once again about not being good enough. That same ego that just a week ago rebelled, said F you to the boss, F you to the school, which is really saying me still being in reaction to my father as a kid. But that's long gone. That's in the past. But subconsciously, because I hadn't looked at those wounds and worked on healing it, it was still living itself through these circumstances. This is a perpetuating cycle. So what I've really found, and this is kind of, if there's anything that could be useful, if there's anything I think that you watch that I say, maybe it's just this one sentence, is that I have found that anything, any circumstance, a job, a relationship, could be anything that comes to me, is an exact mirror of what's going on within me. And if it's not a pleasant experience in this circumstance, it means that I have not yet learned a certain personal development lesson that's being begged to be called to learn. I've not healed a part of myself that's being begged to be healed. And as long as I ignore that and ignore those feelings and let that go, I have found that there'll be greater and greater and more intense circumstances that come out that make me really, really triggered, so until I'm willing to look at this stuff and feel it. And the moment I learn the lesson and feel this and heal it, the pain goes away, the circumstance goes away, and there we go. It's sunshine and rainbows again until the next lesson. And it just kind of keeps going in that way. Okay, that's it. My first video done. Does any of this resonate with you? My goal is to share insights from my life with the hope that it gives you insights in yours, and in the least makes you feel a little bit less alone. So I hope it does that. And let's do some key takeaways, right? So first takeaway, the doing comes from the being, okay? And a corollary to this, I just said corollary. Dad would be very proud. The corollary is forcing yourself to do things doesn't work. So if you are chasing any goal in your life, in any area of your life, and you just find that no matter how much you do, you end up self-sabotaging and procrastinating, and you end up just feeling horrible about yourself, and it doesn't end up working out, consider that you are coming from a disempowered way of being, perhaps from a place of low self-worth. So you are actually not chasing a goal. You are chasing your self-worth disguised as a goal. And there can only be one result to that. Okay, next takeaway. Childhood patterns and trauma result in low self-worth in adulthood. But the good news is you are worthy, good, and good enough right now without doing a thing. Okay? And finally, every painful circumstance mirrors an inner lesson waiting to be learned. If you learn it, if you heal it and feel it, your inner child will thank you and you will be in a much better place of trust. So, the question I want to leave you with to contemplate now as I end this video is, which of the goals you are chasing are actually authentic goals that come from a place of empowerment and joy and excitement, and which are really just metrics or milestones for you to gain self-worth? Really kind of think about that and contemplate it. And I'd love to hear what you come up with. You can share it in the comments below. And if you would like to subject yourself to more of me talking about my feelings, you can subscribe, but just know you have been warned. Okay. All right. Thank you, and I will see you soon.